Alright guys, so Dark Elite requested the top 5 spiciest war crimes committed in Warhammer 40k. You pretty much take any other universe out there, especially Star Wars, where they're all happy-go-lucky, and take the worst day in their history, and it's probably Tuesday for Warhammer 40k in all reality at any point in the last 10,000 years. This is by Majorkill. I'm going to be putting this stuff up down below. I have a Patreon down below. Like and subscribe if you don't already, and jump in the Discord and drop your requests in there. That's the best way to get my attention, because YouTube has a particular habit of making all your comments never show up unless I really just go hunting for them video by video. I'm not sure what the deal is with my YouTube studio, but it's been a pain ever since I started this channel. Every once in a while I will come across a comment that was made and check that out, but for the most part, if you're not in the Discord, you don't put the things in the request for reaction channel, 10 to 1 I'm not going to see it. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and check this one out.
G'day guys and gal. Warhammer 40k is synonymous with war crimes. To be fair,
True.
Half of all fictional settings unintentionally display war crimes as well.
His shirt is heresy.
But 40k really takes the cake with this one. Like, read over the International Criminals Courts of 2002, and you will be able to think of an in-law moment when the Imperium of Man committed one or more of those crimes at once. The only one they don't get done for is attacking the UN peacekeepers, purely by the virtue of there being no UN in space. No shit. Just so we're on the same page for this, a war crime includes willfully causing excessive suffering or death in war, torture, destroying shit unnecessarily, forcing prisoners of war to fight for you, not holding fair trials for prisoners of war, imprisoning civilians in occupied areas, taking hostages, attacking civilians, attacking the UN, killing prisoners, pretending to call a truce, settling in occupied territory, removing people from their homes in occupied areas, Israel, using poison weapons, using civilian shields, using child...
I'm not touching that with a barge pole.
Soldiers, and attacking unarmed medics. So yeah, as long as you don't do anything of the above, you should be able to avoid international court. Or, you know, just be allied to Russia or America. That seems to have the same effect. Before we get started, what is the #1 thing that over 98% of you value most in your life? That's right, your testicles. They are the giver of life just as much as they are mankind's Achilles heel. So when you want to shave that dirty fuzz off them, there's really only one way to do it. This is where Manscaped comes in. Manscaped have partnered up with me to tell you about their Perfect Package 3 kit, or more specifically, the Lawnmower 3, which is a slick...
How many ads have I seen for the Lawnmower 3 over the past God knows how long? I'm gonna go ahead and get past this point right here. Go. Alright. Okay, so if you're interested in it, his code is Majorkill. I will have that down in the description below. But I take very little interest in how to trim up the hair on my balls. In any case...
You know he wants one for Christmas?
Shut up. Who asked you? If you've noticed the smoke drifting across here, it's because I'm trying to quit smoking. And my darling wife, the hospitaler, decided that she was going to steal my first vape pen. And she has stolen 75% of my second vape pen at this point. Guys, send fucking help. Send help. Any case, his code is Majorkill.
Free international shipping, and you'll get a free pair of undies and a nice toiletries bag. Cheers to Manscaped for helping to fund Leroy's meds. I've been digging through the lore to find some of the spiciest war crimes we've seen in 40k, ranging from the use of child soldiers to attacking civilians, all the way to blowing up entire planets. Now that last one isn't on the 2002 International Criminal Court ruling, but there's definitely some overlap with a couple others on the list.
True.
Everyone loves a good war crime, especially when they're spicy. Let's get into it. The Imperium of Mankind commits war crimes like I mispronounce names.
True.
So whilst there is a lot of fun to be had looking for them in the lore, I have retrieved some of the spiciest for your viewing today. Starting us off with #5, we have the Inquisition committing war crimes against the Space Wolves. During the months of shame,
the whole... Thank you. Pretty much the entirety of the end of the first war for Armageddon was just damn shameful. I'll see how much he explains and I'll fill in the gaps if I can.
When the Inquisition were being massive dicks to their war veterans and the Space Wolves moved in to protect said veterans, the Inquisition committed a war crime. Well, they committed like 10, but this one was the most interesting. They baited the Space Wolves into firing range by saying they wanted to talk about a truce. Once in firing range, the Inquisition attacked the Space Wolves' fleet. This violates the war crime of misusing a flag of truce. By pretending to look for a truce, then just using that to surprise attack, the Inquisition committed a war crime. Ooh. It's not all bad though. When his chapter was betrayed, Logan Grimnar teleported onto the Inquisitor's ship, found out who ordered the war crime, and promptly killed them. The Inquisition would go on to then commit further war crimes against the Space Wolves during this war, such as the bombing of Fenris, being unlawful wanton destruction of property, and the killing of billions of civilians to hide the truth about demons, violating the war crime of directing attacks against civilians. Fortunately, Space Wolves showed the Inquisition who was boss, and by the end of the war, every Inquisitor or Grey Knight who had ordered said war crimes were dead. On to number 4 now. We have the existence...
Okay, so I'll pull that back for a second. So basically, during the first war for Armageddon, Angron showed up on Armageddon, and so did a whole bunch of other, basically, war spawn, chaos worshippers, things like that. The Inquisition is very, very thumb up its ass about that. And when the Grey Knights showed up to fight Angron, and the Space Wolves were there after the whole thing was said and done, and Angron had been banished back to the warp, the Inquisition started rounding up the people who had been fighting against, Angron and the Chaos Cultists, and began essentially putting them in forced labor camps and working them to literal death. The Space Wolves took exception to this and pretty much tried to break them out. On the downside, none of the civilians and veterans of Armageddon actually survived. They repopulated the planet, and Armageddon went on from there. But what wound up happening was the months of shame followed that, which was pretty much they say it was a cold war between the Space Wolves and the Inquisition. It was a very hot war. In any case, moving on.
The presence of super soldiers, such as Space Marines and Custodes, being a war crime. Now, it's not a war crime to augment your troops for war. I'm actually super stoked that it's not. I would love to see some super soldiers running around fucking shit up. But it's the way that the Imperium does it which makes it a no-no. The Imperium recruits as Custodes and Space Marines when they are children, which violates the war crime that says that using child soldiers is illegal. It doesn't matter if they only see combat when they get older. If you take children and train them to be soldiers, you are a war criminal. Now, unlike the Inquisition's war crimes, which are just unnecessary dick moves, the creation of child soldiers and the subsequent super soldiers we get from them are for the greater good. No, not the heretical greater good.
Yeah,
like
okay.
The saying, you know what I mean? Without Space Marines and the Emperor's favorite Golden Boys, humanity would be mega fucked. So this is one of the few times where war crimes are a huge vibe. As a cheeky side note, the Thunder Warriors existing did not constitute a war crime, as they were modified when they were adults. The Thunder Warriors would go on to commit many a war crime, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
Down to number 3 now, we have the creation of servitors. Boy, oh boy.
Oof. Closer to number 1 there, buddy.
This violates some shit, with multiple war crimes being ticked off here. Before I list which war crimes this ruffles, let me just quickly explain a servitor. Basically, when you commit a crime, or you're a heretic, or you're an enemy of the Imperium of Mankind, or you just look at the Inquisitor the wrong way, you will get lobotomized and filled with cruel and crude augments, hence turning you into a mechanical slave. The process is horrific. For war crimes, this invokes the torture or inhumane treatment crime, deprives a prisoner of war of a fair trial crime, and depending what kind of servitor you get turned into, could also violate the sexual slavery war crime.
Oof.
Most interestingly though, is the war crime of forcing prisoners of war to serve in forces of a hostile power. As many servitors are used in battle, and many servitors are taken from defeated enemies, this is a huge no-no. being turned into a servitor would be arguably the worst thing that could happen to you,
Yeah.
regardless of how many war crimes it commits. Some servitors are even allowed to maintain awareness and consciousness as extra punishment, with no control over their bodies. I think if anyone wants to understand the grim darkness of 40k, explain to them that the Imperium are supposed to be the good guys. Well, at least good when compared to space elf rapists, war fungus, literal hell, and space bugs of death.
Yeah.
Yet the good guys of this setting happily employ the use of lobotomized slaves. Nice.
I cannot stand people who think that, you know, there is good guys in 40k.
Now on to number 2. We have the time that the Imperium deliberately infected a number of its worlds with gene stealers for a laugh. This one is more about crimes against humanity and less about war crimes, because there was technically not a war going on. At least not initially. But considering that crimes against humanity are considered even more severe than war crimes, I think it's pretty justified to feature here.
Yeah, it is.
Basically, the Imperium wanted to capture a female that was pregnant with a gene stealer for some likely gross reason, and for whatever other reason, they just couldn't do it in a lab. Or maybe they could and they're just severely retarded. Also,
Latter.
not sure why they had to do it over multiple planets. The gene stealers soon overwhelmed each planet, and each planet had to be exterminatus. I can't remember if they got their pregnant female or not, but yeah, probably not the most efficient tactic I've seen. On a similar vein to this, the Imperium has been known to exterminatus worlds that have been lost. Sometimes this is justified, like when a Tyranid Hive fleet has overrun it, or it's riddled with Nurgle's AIDS jizz. But they even do it when the Tau take over sometimes, and if the Tau are known for anything, it's improving each world they take over. So yeah, the Imperium being sore losers when the Tau kick their ass is a violation of unlawful wanton destruction or appropriation of property. War crime. And finally, our number 1 spot. Everyone saw this one coming. Vulcan burning a defeated and defenseless Eldar child alive in cold blood. Very uncharacteristic.
I didn't even think about it. It wasn't even on the list, but yeah, this is something I bring up a lot. This is your main good guy. This is the best guy in the entire setting for humanity, and yeah, he did this.
Of him. I reckon the writers only did this so Vulcan wasn't too nice for the setting. He needed something that people could be like, yeah, well, Vulcan murdered a child. You know, can't be too perfect. Whilst it seems like torching a defenseless child would really set off the war crime alert, there was actually only one crime committed here, as surprisingly, it doesn't come under attacking civilians, as the elder child was a combatant. However, it does come under killing a surrendered combatant, as the elder child had very clearly surrendered before eating a mouthful of Vulcan's hot, throbbing
Promethium.
Funnily enough, you can kill children without it being a war crime as long as they are a combatant. And for them to be a combatant, that means the other team would have to commit the war crime of using child soldiers. So you're actually the good guy in this situation.
Right.
Using flame weapons is also not a war crime.
Yeah, not even gonna mention it.
Crime. However, using poisonous weapons is. The Salamanders actually refuse to use any kind of radioactive or poisonous weapons, as they generally avoid war crimes. Generally. What drove Vulcan to commit a war crime then? Well, not as much as you would think. The planet originally was raided by Dark Eldar, but then some normal Eldar came in, got rid of the Dark Eldar, and then started hanging out with the humans there. When Vulcan arrived, it was a paradise where Eldar and human lived in harmony. Curse joined Vulcan in the campaign and reaped a heavy toll. After massacring an entire city, the planet surrendered, and the survivors were herded into literal concentration camps. When the captured Eldar were like, "Fuck this," and tried to escape, the Night Lords opened fire into the crowd, killing a bunch of humans on both sides, including a friend of Vulcan. In a misdirected rage, Vulcan killed the last remaining Eldar, who was the child, despite the fact that it was Curse and his Night Lords that caused the incident. To be fair to Vulcan, he did feel pretty shit about it later, but yeah, a bit of a lapse in judgment on his behalf.
Yeah.
Almost every faction in 40k commits war crimes, other than the Tau. Some factions are just a little bit spicier with their transgressions than others. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be.
Oh my
Where
God.
only $1 per month give you access to a boatload of Warhammer hentai. Hit the subscribe button, then hit the real subscribe button for more war crimey content. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Okay. So yeah, Vulcan burning a Eldar child alive. That's up there. In any case, I can agree with this list, but there's a lot more things that really do come to mind. But specifically, they're on orcs, so I don't think anybody would care. I don't think anybody would care what happened to orc regardless. In any case, I'll catch you guys next time. Catch the Discord link in the description down below to make requests. Later, guys.